everybody. I hope you have been watching our previous episodes and they have been useful. If you would like some other topics to be covered, please do share in a comment or email us. We would love to create appropriate videos that will support your coaching process. Now, one of the questions that I often get that do locations have fixed meanings? What do I mean by that? Now, supposing I think about mango and I feel the feeling I have for mango, and the mango appears right in front of me, and it's within my arm's distance, like half an arm's distance, and it's clear, and there is light falling on it. And if I were to notice this mango, then does this particular location mean something? Now, the location, the meaning of a location is a combination of some universal patterns, some cultural patterns, some personal contextual patterns. So, what that means is through research, Dr. Lucas Dirks, and let me show you this. Maybe you can't see this very clearly, and I'll put a link to this. So this book, Mental Space Psychology, Psychotherapeutic Evidence for a New Paradigm by Dr. Lucas Dirks. This book details that there are some universal patterns. For example, if you notice anything very close, then it's likely to have a stronger emotional intensity. It does not mean good or bad. It doesn't mean positive or negative. It can be, a very complex kind of a feeling you have, but then it has a lot of significance. If something is closer, it is more significant. Just think about your, normal everyday life. If somebody is standing very close to you, the sensation that you feel, or if there is a huge billboard in your face when you leave home, in India, and many often during political campaigns or through some festivals, sometimes we have these huge hoardings, and you take your vehicle out of the house and there it is, right? And you notice what happens to you when you notice these big hoardings right in your face. Similarly, in your mental space, and mental space is the space around us in this area, if any being or object or activity is in that area, in that space around you, then there is a significance of that presence on how you are thinking and how you are responding to it. Now, this can be positive. For example, a loved one was likely to be very close. And similarly, somebody you are irritated with and you are obsessed with is also likely to be very close. So the closeness, the distance does make a difference in the emotional experience, in the quality of that relationship and the significance that a person gives to that relationship. You will also remember, in the language we use sometimes, a long distance relationship, out of sight, out of mind. So similarly, when objects are far away and out of sight, they also tend to diminish in importance, but it does not mean they're absent. They're present, but they're not so much in your face and working in the moment with that particular issue. So just like that, there are patterns, some locations which have universal meanings, but then there are also cultural meanings. So culturally, some things may be appropriate, right, and some things may not be. A lot of the South Asian cultures tend to have, use of the right and the rightness of things. There is a remarkable importance of that. And so in some cases, you may find the right side, especially the right diagonal, occupying a very significant role. And in my experience, I have noticed that the There is a cultural connection to the objects and beings present on the right side. However, we cannot say that this is going to happen for each person. For I've had to learn that personal context makes a difference. For example, a person who has rebelled against authority figures and the right things to do and the way you should be, and they've rebelled against it. So they and there has been very significant emotional events associated with folks who were on the right. um, they tend to have a lot of pleasant activities and pleasant beings and people they love on the left. And the orientation almost seems to be left. Like you try and map out various aspects of their life, it's left heavy. So, once again, the personal context makes a lot of difference. So, is a person experiencing a lot of significant emotional events in their life, and there is what we can call as trauma, then that might impact the orientation of locations. Similarly, it's not just close, the bigger an object is, it also has its importance. Just, like in your experience, somebody very big standing in front of you and looking down, it has a particular experience. A big building, a very tall, big building, and you stand in front of it, has its own impact on you. Similarly, anything big in your mental space also impacts you, which includes, say, a problem is viewed in like this big, right? I am experiencing a problem in some particular area, and when the coach is facilitating, they discover that the client's representation of the problem is right in front and it's big, and their eyes are glazed, and you really don't know where to look, but it's an overwhelm, right? So how big a problem, how big the size of a problem that is represented in the mental space also makes a difference. What also makes a difference is the eye level. Dr. Lucas Dirks very clearly writes in both this book, Mental Space Psychology, as well as his book on Social Panorama, that a person whose eye level is looking down, who experiences the other person's eye level as above them, and their gaze, if it is towards them looking down, then there is an effect on the quality of relationship. Vice versa, somebody who is looking directly at you at the equal level. Vice versa, a person whose representation is viewed as uh, lower, the eye level is lower, the experience, the interpretation that is being made of that quality of relationship affects. Now you have to remember, this is the client's representation. It may or may not be the truth. So the client's representation is that somebody is better or ideal or authority figure, and somebody is not ideal, not exactly capable or competent. Sometimes I've seen parents having both kinds of eye levels with their children, and it's very surprising. So one would expect that a parent who feels very much in charge with their young child should have their eye level higher than the child, or maybe equal if they are in terms of friendliness. But the interesting piece is, for some parents, the children have their eye level, the representation of the child is of a much higher level than themselves. So they find the child actually judging them and having a large figure and looking down at them from the right. Now that has its contextual meaning for the parent, as well as it also contains a universal meaning for that particular location and that eye level. It is important that in all of this, that each person also has a habit of perception. So it is possible that for one person who has high levels of, say, a tendency to be anxious, they have even the small irritant or small liking, small everything, right clumped somewhere in the middle. So it's very much within the eye gaze, and everything is. It's just mostly the dense area is almost in this zone. And then for others, there is clear, everything is in the back, and it's you. They only perceive, they sense the presence, they don't see the person. Now, these are habits of perception, and these habits can be cultural, can be contextual. They may be in a work area or a situation where they need to keep things in forefront. Or it is possible that there has been significant emotional events that created a particular orientation. I have found it very useful to point out these habits of perception, in the sense how certain location or certain locational areas are being repeated, and draw their attention for an exploration. It is also very interesting that certain key areas, especially the ones locations that are troubling for the client, massively troubling for the client, tend to be also repeated. That there have been, so in this particular moment, the client may be experiencing problem with a person who is occupying a location, right? So let's say right diagonal. And if you explore and go backwards, they may have another person who they were also irritated or having trouble with, who also occupied that location. And if you go back into the childhood, there may be some other person who occupied that location. So there's something about that location that tends to be potent. Sometimes all significant emotional events tend to be clumped in a particular area around the body or in and around your mental space. So for example, it may be, close to the body in this particular direction, a small patch that is, you can say, the zone where a lot of significant emotional events tend to come and clump, a lot of memories located there. So there may be habits, there may be personal habits, there may be context-based locations, there may be cultural contexts, there may be universal meanings. It's good to know as much and to pay attention to what the client is bringing. And it really helps when you have been working with a client for quite some time. The habits come out. You will notice certain patterns coming out repeatedly. And that makes for a very profound, deep kind of a noticing that can change the way they are perceiving the world at a generative whole. Instead of just trying to tackle this problem, this issue, this relationship, this, is to look at what are these underlying patterns that connect us to the world in this way. So I hope this video was useful for you. If you have questions, please do share those questions in the comment. If you have enjoyed it, please share, like and subscribe to this channel. Looking forward to producing more videos that can be useful for you in this space. Till next time, have a wonderful time experiencing your space.